show Grizzly, bitch.
What up, me militia? I mean Joe Grizzly, and when I'm not competing in a game of life and death in order to save my sick daughter, I'm at the Grizzly Cave, watching and reviewing movies while of course crushing beers. And I am back to bring y'all my review of the latest Stephen King adaptation and film by Edger Wright, The Running Man. And The Running Man was one of my most anticipated films of this year. I really liked the first movie, I love the concept, and I was really anxious to see how they were going to do a modern adaptation of that. So the question is, does Edger Wright nail it? Do they bring Running Man to a new generation of fans? Let's find out. This is Grizzly Grade Reviews. In the near future, The Running Man, a deadly competition where contestants must survive 30 days while being hunted by professional assassins, is the highest rated TV show. Desperate for money to save his sick daughter's life, Ben Richards is convinced by the show's ruthless producer to enter the game as a last resort. But the ratings soon skyrocket as Ben's defiance turns him into an unexpected fan favorite and a threat to their entire societal system as they know it. So I am a fan of the original Running Man, and I know that that is a hot take to some people because the movie is oftentimes known as one of those so good it's bad movies. But in my opinion, I think the concept is incredible. I love the concept of people being thrown into this deadly game where they have to face off against these assassins or these different types of fighters or gladiators. That's just something, it just scratches an itch for me. And I also think that the original Running Man has some of Arnold's best lines. And when I say best lines, I am not talking about some of his best written lines. I'm simply talking about some of his most cheesy, iconic 80s headlines that you and your friends can sit around and quote all day. So when they announced a remake, I automatically thought that they're just gonna make like a cash grab movie. And then I seen that Edger Wright was attached to it, and I was like, okay, this movie has a shot. And then I read an article where it was closer to the novel. And I have never read the novel, but I know enough to know that it is starkly different than the one that we got from 1987, where everything is more confined to like an arena type area or a city block. Whereas in the novel, it is like all over the country. Like Ben Richards is literally running for his life throughout the entire United States. And that was something that really piqued my interest, and it quickly became one of my most anticipated films of 2025. So the question is now that it's been released, what are my thoughts on the movie? Does it scratch the same itch that the original did? Does it bring something new to the table? Does it bring a new generation to this concept of the Running Man? And my answer is mostly yes, but there are some issues, so let's get into it. So starting out with the positives, the overall cast of the movie is pretty good overall. There isn't a bad performance in the house. You have several cameos in here as well, from like Michael Cera, who plays this like kooky tinfoil hat conspiracy theory prepper guy. And then you have William H. Macy, who is like the black market guy who can get you fake IDs and get you like disguises and costumes and stuff like that, and both of their performances were great. But the two standouts are definitely Glenn Powell and Josh Brolin. So starting out with Glenn Powell, I think that Glenn Powell has quickly became this guy who is getting really close to being a household name in film, as in he is picking really good projects and really good movies to be in. And I think that if you look at what he has done so far, he's really picking a lot of things that can show his range. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Glenn Powell has the most range ever of any modern actor or anything like that. But what I am going to tell you is that he is picking projects that do not confine him to a box. He's done romantic comedies, he's done drama, he's done regular comedies, he's done action movies, and I am anxious to see what he is going to be doing in the future, because I think that he was a damn good choice to play Ben Richards in this movie. He exudes so much personality, whereas he should be like this one-trick pony where he is just this guy who is just desperately trying to save his daughter by any means necessary, by entering this literal game of death in order to get money to save her from whatever ailment she has. He is also a very angry man. He is the representation of the downtrodden, of the forgotten man. And he turns all of that anger right back on our oppressors in this movie. And it is one thing that normally you see characters like this where they are kind of just very cliche. But in my opinion, I feel like Ben Richards is more of a person who is more of a realistic take of how we really feel about the hierarchy in society, and how no matter what you do, you just keep on getting shit on by the people up at the top. And Ben Richards is the quote bullet fired from the gun that is there to take that hierarchy down. And I think Glenn Powell does a phenomenal job of playing that character. He doesn't come off as this real stupid character. He's super smart. He's very driven. He has this real charisma to him that makes you just root for him right from the beginning. No matter what the narrative is they wrote, he could have been more of a villainous character that is killing these hunters off mercilessly and anybody that gets in his way in order to achieve his goal. But he has this sense of honor and this sense of morality to him that really makes him relatable. And I think Glenn Powell is the reason why we feel that way about the character. I think Glenn Powell's great in this movie. And then you have Josh Brolin, who plays Dan Killian. He is the executive who is the producer and the owner and the pretty much mastermind behind the Running Man. And in this future, executives over these corporations, whether it be a chemical corporation or a pharmaceutical or an entertainment corporation, they are the ones who truly run the world. And Josh Brolin's character of Dan Killian is like the epitome of this, just, I only care about the bottom dollar, and I only care about how much money I can make from ratings, from my entertainment that I am providing. But he is also the cold, cruel reality of how if these people get too much power, if they just keep on absorbing more and more stuff and getting more and more power, more pull under their belt, that this is what you get. You get this executive who is very charismatic and acts like he is trying to help you and he's giving you a shot in to hit greatness, and in all reality he just wants you to get on there and dance like a monkey so he can make money off of you. And that is something that a lot of people can pull off, but I feel like that Josh Brolin pulled it off pretty damn good. He is diabolical, and I want him to die from the get-go. And when I say that he is diabolical, he is not diabolical like mustache-twirling supervillain diabolical. He is realism. And I was just saying that he is a realistic depiction of how it would be if we actually got to that extreme level. But he's not this all-powerful superhuman guy. He's just the guy that's in charge that everyone listens to, and he has all the power right there in his fist. No matter what happens, no matter who betrays him, no matter who he betrays, he is always in control. And that is what made him so damn diabolical, because every time Ben overcame something that he was presenting to him, or spit in the face of whatever way out or offer that Dan Killian gave him, Dan Killian just kept on pushing, kept on going other routes in order to get what he wants out of Ben, whether it be deep faking certain things, or holding someone hostage, or putting him in a moral conundrum to where he had to make a decision on whether or not he was going to take someone's life. And I thought that was so well done by Josh Brolin. And just a testament of how good of an actor it is. But who didn't think that he was going to crush it as this villain? Because after all, he is Thanos, so it's really cool to see him play a more grounded villain. One of the things that I really like about the movie is its realism. And I got a few things that I want to talk about that kind of takes the realism away that I kind of wanted to happen that didn't happen. But I do appreciate how grounded this world is. Not in the sense of course, there's technology in there that does not exist yet, or is in a very primitive form right now and hasn't reached that level yet. But the reality of how society is and how society will do anything to get a leg up because they are that desperate. And the people in this world, they can't afford regular medicines to fight off the flu or the common cold, because people are just so beaten down and don't get paid anything and overworked. And it is something that, although it is not completely relatable, it feels real to people, including me. It's one of those things where it's like, you work hard every day, you bust your ass every day, and then when you finally get that paycheck, it's just scraps, and it doesn't help you in your life. It just sends you spiraling down into this like pit of despair, because you literally feel like there is no hope in this world. Their hope is like a little candle in the middle of a hurricane. And I felt like that they did a good job with that, particularly on how the hierarchy in society there is. You have people who are way at the top, and then everyone at the bottom. There is no middle class. The middle class is completely gone, and it's just an ocean gap between the two different societal players here. And it was just realistic and a very grounded approach to go with. And I think that Edger Wright did a really good job of portraying that. I think that the action in this movie is solid. I think that they do a really good job of anywhere from explosions to gunplay, and the camera work in a lot of this is done very well too, because there's a lot of shots from the perspective of these drones that are flying around and recording everything, and I thought that those were done very well. And even in the third act, you had this really cool like fight scene between Ben Richards and like 4 different people inside of an airplane cockpit. You could see it on the trailer, and that scene is really well done and really cool. I also think that the violence is pretty solid too. It's not anything super over the top. It is that 80s and 90s like action movie aesthetic with its violence. Nothing is like super crazy, but it's there, and it adds once again a little bit of an edge and realism to it, that there is consequences to being dumb and getting exposed. And when people do get hurt on here, they get hurt. There's even one scene where one of the contestants of Running Man is doing very well and almost got caught, but then thinks that they're home free, only for them to die a horrific death. And it wasn't necessarily shocking, but it was just like, it's like your life in this world as a contestant gets taken away in an instant. No matter what you did to like get away, no matter how grand it was, no matter how spectacular of an escape you made, you could die from something really simple as 2 people that aren't even involved in the game just come in to take you out just to get a prize. To kind of piggyback on what I was saying before, is there's a lot of real world stuff going on in here that I found to be kind of nerve wracking. Not in like it annoyed me, but in like it is something that just feels too real and kind of gives me a little bit of anxiety. And one of those is they utilize stuff that is a big concern today in this movie. And one of those things was deepfake technology, where they make the contestants in the game record a video like every 12 hours and they have to mail it off. And once they do that, they put it on the TV for everybody to see, where it'll be like kind of like a video, like a vlog or something. And Ben Richards, he would put out like messages about, hey, I didn't mean to cause that big explosion at that apartment. I was just trying to get away, and they decided they were going to just blow up the entire building. Or hey, the real enemy here is the executives. You think that they are on your side and they're just providing you entertainment, but really they're just using us to sell you products. And the company would just switch everything up, use deepfake technology, and make the person look like the biggest asshole ever by just completely changing voice patterns, using AI, using computer generated stuff. And it was something that is, I believe, one of the biggest concerns in society today, and not in our world today, because we can literally ruin someone's life with just one little AI generated video that makes them look like they are doing something that is wrong. And that was something that also kind of hit home for me and like made the movie a little more relatable, even though we're set in this dystopian future. Moving on to the mixed, there is a little period in like between the first act and the second act, not quite into the third act, so not the entire second act, but there's like a little period of time where the movie just seems to slow down and then it picks right back up. And maybe I'd say maybe about a 20 or 25 minute period, the movie does slow down. And it didn't really affect the movie that much because there was a lot of world building and stuff going on as far as like seeing different perspectives of different people in this society, but it did lag a little bit for me, and that was something that I definitely noticed, and I felt like some of this could have been trimmed out. They needed to leave some in, but some of it could have got trimmed out. The third act of the movie feels kind of disconnected. And I don't know why Edger Wright or the studio, whichever one, because Edger Wright's known for being the guy to give a big middle finger to the studio as far as his vision goes, if anybody tries to fuck with his vision. I don't know why he decided to go in the direction he did in the third act, but it made the third act feel very disconnected from the movie, and it honestly kind of killed the momentum. It gave us like some really cool scenes, but there's a character that is introduced in the third act that was very prominent in the 1987 version with Arnold that just didn't make any sense and felt kind of just shoehorned in. That individual they wasn't there long enough to make an impact. They wasn't there long enough to be included. It did feel like when they do a typical remake of a classic action movie or a cult classic movie where they just throw character A that was prominent in the movie, they just throw them in just to pretty much name drop them or say, hey, there they are, but that person does nothing. They don't really serve a big purpose in the story other than giving us yet another perspective and another outlook on that world society. And I'm not saying that wasn't needed, but what I'm saying is it didn't have to be included. It just felt forced in there. And also the movie just goes from action packed, bam, 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 stuff's happening, and then it gets to a point where you have a little bit of a period where some stuff's going on, and then they have another action scene, and then the story of Ben Richards kind of comes to this abrupt end. And then we kind of get this weird, almost montage type deal at the end of the movie, and then the movie hits its climax and its conclusion, and I felt like it was really, really rushed. I felt like the entire third act, in fact, was a rushed idea and written very rushed. So I don't know what happened there, and it didn't completely ruin the movie for me, but it definitely put a little bit of a damper on it, hence why it's in the mixed section. And finally, this could go pretty much mixed negative. It leans more towards the negative portion, but it's not quite bad enough for me to put it in the negative portion of this review. And that is, in the 87 movie, Ben Richards and company, they have to face off against these fighters or these gladiator type guys that are trying to kill them. And each one of them has this unique method of murder or unique set of weapons or skills that they use to kill the contestants. And one of the things that I really was looking forward to in this, that I automatically knew wasn't going to be in it just by seeing the trailers, was that uniqueness and that, honestly, that character that I was looking for in each one of these hunters. I wanted to see these larger than life villains that were damn near like, kind of like Mega Man villains, where you had like one guy was name was Sub-Zero, and his level was in an ice rink, and he was flying around ice skates with blades all over him and had like a bladed hockey stick. You had one guy named Buzzsaw who had a dirt bike with buzzsaws on it and chainsaws all in his arsenal, where he would ride around in this arena and he would just cut you to ribbons with his chainsaw. You had a guy named Dynamo who drove in this doom buggy that would like shoot these electrical pulses at you. He could shoot lightning out of his gauntlets and stuff. I know that all of that is corny as shit, and I know that it is goofy as shit, but I fucking loved it. And I was really looking forward to seeing that being brought to life by Edger Wright, because dude, Edger Wright could have absolutely nailed that, giving us these unique, different like hunters that had all these cool abilities and stuff like that. And I would have loved to have seen him do that, but unfortunately they didn't do it. So I am satisfied with what we got from this more realistic approach and more grounded approach, but a little part of me really wanted to see that. I really wanted to see Edger Wright's style applied to that concept of giving these gladiators or these hunters these different weapon sets and stuff. I thought that would be so fucking cool, and unfortunately they didn't do it. But again, I like what we ended up getting to. And this is a very nitpicky mixed, I almost put it in the negatives, but I felt like it was kind of nitpicky because it was a callback to those 80s, 90s action films. Was you really have to suspend disbelief when it comes to how much danger they put the character of Ben Richards in, and how he is able to come out miraculously unscathed. There is one scene where he's running down a straight hallway and they are unloading down this hallway and not one bullet hits him. He doesn't get grazed. He doesn't get nothing. He gets all of them shoot down the hallway. Like, it's kind of like the whole theory of how stormtroopers are really, really bad marksmen. They like have the worst aim ever. Yeah, all these guys are already elite stormtroopers because they can't hit shit. This guy's running straight down this hallway. He's not dodging. He's not doing anything. And they are just eating this hallway up with bullets, and not one of them hits him. There's a point where and you see it in the trailer, where he is going down this laundry chute or this pipe or manhole, and an explosion just shoots him down out of the bottom into the sewers, and that would 100% would have blown him to absolute smithereens, and somehow he comes out unscathed. And that was kind of crazy to me, because they took this really grounded approach on a lot of things, and that was some of the stuff that they chose not to. And in the final act of the movie, he does get fucked up a little bit, and it was just kind of weird that they chose not to give him more of a challenge in the movie, as far as like giving him injuries that he would have to overcome throughout the movie, and instead they chose to like make him pretty much plot armor superhero for the first two acts. And finally, on to the negatives, and I have one negative, and that one negative is pretty significant, and it brings it down an entire star for me. And that one negative is that I can barely tell that Edger Wright directed this movie. His style is so distinct, and it's so unique, and it is something that I personally love, and a lot of people who love movies love his style of filmmaking from a visual standpoint and from a storytelling standpoint. And that style is just not here. It's flashes here and there, but it is almost completely absent this entire movie, to the point that anybody could have directed this movie and I would have never known. This the only Edger Wright movie that I can say, if I didn't know Edger Wright directed it, I wouldn't know who directed it, because it does not have his fingerprints on it at all. His style is almost non-existent, and that was something that's very disappointing, because his style would have been absolutely perfect for this world. And I touched on it in the mix section. If they would have went not a shot for shot remake, but a more remake of the 1987 movie, where they had like gladiators and hunters, kind of this hybrid of that, where they would fight them in these different areas, he would have absolutely shined in that movie. It would have been awesome to see him do that. And something makes me believe that maybe he wanted to do that and the studio told him no. Which, what makes me not believe that is Edger Wright has no problem telling a studio to go fuck themselves. So I don't know what happened. I don't know why his style is absent here, but it definitely showed in the movie. I still really enjoyed this movie, but man, I probably would have loved it if Edger Wright would have had his style like infused in this movie more than what it was, because again, it's just not there. And he's got so many movies that have such a cool style to them, like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, freaking Last Night at Soho, and Baby Driver. I just expected to have some of that in this movie, and it just wasn't there, and it was super disappointing, and that's why it's affected the score a little bit more than what it should. I think Running Man was very good. I really enjoyed it, but I would have loved it if it would have just had Edger Wright's signature style on it. And for that reason alone, this movie is disappointing. But again, I still enjoyed it. I plan on watching it again when it comes out on Blue. I'll probably even buy a copy because I did enjoy it. But it could have been one of my favorite movies of the year. It could have probably jumped into my top 10 if it would have just had that little bit of Edger Wright style injected into it more than what they did. But nevertheless, I still very much enjoyed it. So I think that y'all should check it out. So with all that being said, The Running Man gets a 4 out of 5 and is Grizzly grade guaranteed. Go check it out. It's a fun time. If you love those 80s and 90s action movies, that over-the-top explosions and stuff like that, I think that you will really like this. And if you like real-world commentary that's not just something that is shoved down your throat obnoxiously, but is done in a very good way, I think you'll also enjoy this. So go check it out. Well, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all so much for your continued support and patience. Without y'all, this channel isn't possible. And if you like this video, like it. If you like it enough, please head over to the channel, hit the subscribe and bell button so you never miss a video. Also, please follow me on all social media platforms so you can get channel updates, movie news, and all forms of badassery. If you click right here, this is the Grizzly Grade Review playlist. If you click right there, that is the latest review I did before this one. So make sure y'all check those out. And remember, I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch.